Zimbabwe cash crisis. We're talking about Venezuela once again. Systemic important banks. They removed the 1,000 thing called monetary Hey there, hope all is well. Back here today with some more RTD news updates. And so today I actually came across an article that I thought was well worth taking a minute to share with you guys because it has a lot to do with the current state of our economy, give or take all the things that's going to happen today with Jerome Powell and FOMC coming with their final conclusion as to whether or not they're going to drop rates or not. But beyond that, this event here, where as you guys can see, it says two charts that show how China is pulling out of the United States. And so I think it's very important to share this just because, once again, as a Michigander, this definitely impacts my state because one of the graphs in here has to do with the amount of liquidity that's been removed or the investing that has stopped in the state of Michigan, primarily due to the auto sector. And I think it plays in with a lot of what's going on in regards to this whole trade situation, plus a variety of other things. But before I dive into these articles here,
the next recession.
Recession will be a recession.
We're going to hit a recession.
The date of the next recession.
A U.S.-only recession typically lasts 8 to 10 months.
A crash is coming now, whether it's 6 months from now, 12 months, 36 months, no one knows.
If you have the right plan to set up, you can make a lot of money from this.
Two articles I want to share with you, but more importantly, these two charts here paint a very grim picture for the current situation. This probably sparked by Trump's narrative of Make America Great Again, as well as the whole idea that this trade situation of trying to balance trade is not playing out well for both countries, unfortunately. So here's an article here. I'll put it beneath if you're interested, but want to thumb through it briefly, give you something to look at. But it says Beijing's annual investments have plummeted from a 2016 peak to an 8-year low in 2018. And so this is as of yesterday. And so it says, as the Chinese economy has grown, the investment in the U.S. its industries have risen. This seems like a natural correlation, but something strange happened after 2016. And so it says, after a high of 177 deals worth $4.56 billion in 2016, as of today, or this current time frame, there's only been 36 deals worth $2 billion in 2018 as of last year. And so this visual aid here, I think, is what's most very telling, because not only did it peak at 45.6 now, but it's at $2 billion, which in the whole grand scheme of things, $2 billion when it comes to international trade is a very small amount. But yet a part of this article here links it to the whole trade situation. And then the author also tries to hint at the fact that once Trump became president, and he ran upon the narrative of Make America Great Again and all the policies that he's been implementing and executive orders he's been signing, more and more investors in the form of China, our biggest creditor as well, has also decided to dial back on investing in the country. But more importantly, it's the Chinese automotive investments in Michigan, my home state here. So for the last decade, according to this chart here, once again, $920 million was invested in the state of Michigan, geared towards the big three, Ford, GM, Chrysler. And so as of now, only $11 million. And so a lot of this has to do with the lack of demand for cars for the most part. And overall, the economy, as we are experiencing, is slowing down. People aren't really buying cars like that. So that's one side of the coin that I want to point out. But then again, this is no surprise whatsoever, because one thing that's not mentioned in this article is the fact that in 2016, not only did investment stop in regards to, the Chinese actually putting into our manufacturing infrastructure or whatnot, because it also benefits them to utilize some of those treasuries. But one thing you won't hear in correlation with this is the fact that China also, within its same time frame, decided to get out of the dollar. And so the whole de-dollarization process became somewhat of a narrative, out of the Eastern Hemisphere. And it has to do with simply the fact that China dumps U.S. Treasuries at fastest pace in 2 years. And so this right here plays right into the whole idea of them not investing those treasuries in our country. But what have they been doing? We all know that they've been getting more tonnage of gold, along with Russia, whatnot, as they continue to partner, as they divest in this whole economy here. And so now, and we have, not only is our biggest creditor not investing in our country on a grand scale, especially in the state of Michigan, in the automotive sector, but also at the fastest pace in 2 years, they've been getting out of treasuries and dollar-denominated assets. So once again, this is not good news whatsoever, because as China stops investing and they stop lending us, then what does that mean? That means the Federal Reserve will be even much more out on the limb trying to keep this narrative of the expansion in our economy, which means that ultimately, depending on what happens today with this whole FOMC meeting, if the quantitative easing process begins again, then it's good to say the Federal Reserve will be the borrower and the issuer of last resort and only resort as far as how this narrative of expansion continues, because they will begin directly injecting liquidity into the markets and probably purchasing assets and things of that nature. So just want to take a minute to share what's happening in the news. I think the fact that Michigan is being heavily impacted by only, according to this thing here, $2 million being invested in what used to be at a high of $920 million. That's a big difference for the state of Michigan. And so as I look at the lots in the city of Detroit, outside the city of Detroit, there's more cars just piling up, but there's not many buyers. So the automotive industry, as I did a video months and months ago, wherever the automotive industry goes, so does our nation. And so clearly this news here is not good for the state of Michigan, nevertheless the entire country. But then also when you have, China dumping treasuries at a very alarming rate, that's not good news either. But curious to find out what you think. Feel free to leave a thought or comment down below. How much worse can this thing get in your opinion? I'm interested to find out. Other than that, look forward to bringing you more news. Enjoy your day.